we've come back to have a look at what's changed. So, to kick off, what has changed?
Well, I think the last time you were here, we were standing on the edge of a big hole, just over this direction.
Yeah.
And since you've been here, we started up a whole nother enterprise in the midst of the worst economic downturn ever. This is like, I think you were here in 2007. So we actually built the facility and had cheese to sell in December of 2008. And it was a challenge. It was a challenging couple of years, but I think an awesome time to really kind of start up a business. We're like lean. You know, we got through a real rough patch. You know, I wake up in the morning, I think, I'm not in high school, and that construction project is over. It's going to be a great day. So it's been, I think, 6 years, and we're at a point where it feels like, you know, we're no longer in the fight or flight startup mode, and things are going great.
Would you go along with that, Andy?
The timing was challenging, but it caused us to really buckle down and try harder. And it also opened up a job market for us, and we were able to put together a great team of people that has allowed us to build something that I never expected we'd be doing, which is really exciting.
Yeah, because last time I was here, I think you had, like, it was just the family and maybe three or four employees. How many have you got now?
We will be at 55 employees by the end of the year. So in the next 3 months, we'll be up to 55 full-time employees.
And that's a pretty big input to the local economy.
I say I used to milk 45 cows, and now I manage 55 people. And it's a real challenge, but it's one of the most exciting things about what we do is the impact that our business has on such a small community. And we've been talking about community building since we first purchased our cows, and now it's clear the impact that this economy has on just our small local community.
Well, I bet the people are a lot more trouble than the cows.
You know, the people can be troublesome, but I don't think it's necessarily, you know, let me just back that up. The people are not that troublesome. Believe it or not, I think, you know, we've got a culture in our business, and it's a culture that enables impossible things to happen. And you know, we have a lot of energy. We're a young business. We've attracted a lot of young people from all over the country to move to Greensboro. Last year we had 8 real estate transactions in our company. So we're starting to affect the real estate market. Families are having kids. Kids are going to school. And all the while, you know, we try and maintain some clarity about what it is that we're doing, which is precisely that. And I think that, you know, there's a lot of people in our company that come to work and feel proud to contribute to the transformation of this beautiful place. And in that sense, you know, we don't experience, we don't see our employees as a burden, because they're not. You know, it's like we are the sum of the people we work with here, and we have an amazing team. It's the only way that we've been able to accomplish what we have is, you know, this just like first-rate group of people that come to work here every day and bring a lot of heart and a lot of soul to their job because they're making a difference.
Well, they're here, most of them, to work here in the cellars. Now, as you say, at some time between when we first came here, we also dropped in and saw you with this massive hole in the ground, concrete trucks everywhere, no idea what it was going to be. And when I come back now, I go, wow, you know, this has got to be a state-of-the-art facility. It's probably, I'd say probably globally, not even probably, I would say it is the most exciting affinage cellars anywhere in the world.
Well, you've seen a few of these places, and it's a real honor for us to hear that from you. We put a lot of energy into thinking about how to design this space, and we've just been to Europe for a couple of weeks to Cheese in Bra, Italy. Amazing experience, and one of the most surprising things, and something that's just validated our work, is that we're now having French affineurs ask if they can come visit us for inspiration as they move on to build their own ripening facilities. So I guess we got something right.
You have, and along the way you've come across quite a lot of challenges. So for example, we're surrounded here by wooden shelves. What are some of those challenges?
Less than a year ago, it was questionable whether we'd be able to use wooden shelves to ripen cheese. And if you look at what we have in this vault, it's 5 miles worth of wooden shelving. If you stacked it end on end, it would be 5 miles long. So the idea of purchasing 5 miles worth of stainless steel for our cheese
For one vault.
to sit on for one space, it was in the millions of dollars. It would have.
But it was more than just the dollars, though, wasn't it?
It seems that the federal government, or at least one office at FDA, at the Food and Drug Administration, is bent on regulating our segment of the cheese industry out of the marketplace. And I don't think that they really understood what was happening. This wooden shelving, this ban of wooden shelving thing exploded, and there's a massive outpouring of vitriol towards the FDA and support for cheesemakers from public at large, and it blew up in social media, and the whole issue went away in 36 hours. I think it was a real eye-opener for us to see how the power of consumer and public pressure can create some kind of accountability for a government that may have a political agenda here. And we're in a hard position because we put all our eggs in this one basket. We're making economic and cultural contribution to our community in real tangible ways. And we used to think that the biggest risk to our business was microbiological, listeria. Those risks can be managed. At this point, we consider the biggest risk to our business to be the federal government. And that's really complicated, and it's well highlighted in what happened with the FDA's attempt to ban wooden shelving for ripening of cheese. There would be no more Parmigiano Reggiano in this country. There'd be no more Gruyere. There would be no, Comte. There wouldn't be any cloth-bound cheddar in this country. And I think it highlights the degree to which regulators are completely ignorant of the realities that the reality of the food that consumers are interested in consuming and purchasing. It's a confusing time to be in the business, and we have a lot to lose here.
Well, you're not going to lose it, though. I don't think so, anyway. Hopefully not. But so coming back to the cellars, how many vaults have you got here?
We have 7 different spaces.
And are they all full?
I'd say the overall building capacity is just over 60%. So we have room to grow in certain spaces. So we'll be focusing our sort of energy and production to fill those spaces over the next few years.
One of the extraordinary things between the last visit and now has been to see the development of Cabot Clothbound. I don't know if you remember, but when I first came here, way down in the cellar, tucked away as just a little experiment, quietly, you know, we just sort of noticed it and touched on it, were six Cabot Clothbound cheeses just lying there, and you sort of just said, oh yeah, we're just experimenting with this Cabot Clothbound cheese. And I seem to remember saying something like, well, this is a cooperative, what the hell are you doing working with a cooperative? Now, you know, a decade later I come back and I've seen Cabot Clothbound cheese matured in the cellars of Jasper Hill all over the planet. And I go, wow, how did that happen? How does it come that you have a cooperative working with a small artisan dairy?
I think that's one of the unique cultural characteristics of Vermont. And I think that kind of a collaboration would be difficult or nearly impossible in most other areas. But in Vermont, I think, and this is, you know, this speaks a lot to the ethos and the culture at Cabot Cooperative Creamery, where they understand that what's good for the dairy industry in Vermont is good for them. And they really brought a rising tide lifts all ships approach to their support of artisan cheese making in the state. And you know, we got a call from Cabot asking us to make for them raw milk English style cloth-bound cheddar before we had sold a scrap of cheese. So it's not too long before you first visited us. And we didn't dismiss them out of hand. We invited them to come see our operation, and it was clear that was not going to be a viable approach to product development, and our milk was precious to us. But we worked with them to develop this cheese. Initially, it was an aging fee structure. And over the course of 18, 20 months, we developed this cheese. And, you know, how do you go from like zero to the condition you described, where there's Cabot cloth-bound cheddar and some of the great cheese retailers in Australia, for instance, is by having a delicious product. I mean, that's, how does it work? You have a delicious cheese. But that basis, the basis for our collaboration with Cabot is what enabled us to finance this facility, right? We took a contract that we had with Cabot Creamery to the bank, and we're able to borrow against that contract to build the facility. So, you know, Cabot Clothbound is really the engine. You know, I call it like the donkey that does the heavy lifting, that enables the agricultural and economic development around artisan cheese making at the cellars to occur. And, you know, I honor the co-op and the farmer owners for supporting this project. And I think it's been a partnership that is just beginning. There'll be other great collaborations with Cabot over time.
Well, definitely a win-win. Talking
Yes.
about collaboration, I've got a question for you. I'll ask you first, Andy. You two are brothers, okay? Now, brothers, it's fantastic you get on well together. What would you say is the most important thing that Matteo does in terms of collaborating with you on your job?
He steers the ship. He's looking to the future, and he's not necessarily thinking about what needs to happen in the day-to-day to make the business run, but he makes sure that we're on the right track to reach our goals in 5 or 10 years, right? So that the energy that we're putting into our day-to-day is headed in the right direction and helping us achieve the goals that we've set for not just this week or next week, but over the course of the next 5, 10, 25 years.
Good answer. Matteo, your turn. Where does Andy fit into this collaboration? What's the most important thing that Andy does to support your vision?
Well, Andy's the executioner, right?
The hatchet man? No.
No. I'm talking about he's the executive, right? I mean, without the management of 100,000 details, you never get where you're going. In a sense, Andy's a master at taking, the next step, right? And so if my role is to think about where we're going, in 10, 15, 20 years, Andy's amazing at just like figuring out what needs to happen next. And I think we have an interesting relationship because we both contribute in very specific, essential ways to the operation of the company and to the culture that we have here, like as a whole. But our skill sets are totally different. I am not a detail guy.
I would never have guessed that.
Yeah, I'm not a detail guy, but Andy, whether it's like fixing the gutter cleaner or like making sure that the email server, gets put back together. I mean, he knows how the business functions from an operational perspective, and he can fix anything. It's amazing.
Right. Okay, so when it comes to your own cheeses, which is the most exciting cheese you guys make? I know it's like picking your favorite child, but which would you regard as your most interesting cheese? Because a lot of the cheeses you used to make, you don't make anymore because of the challenges of raw milk. So, okay, you've got a couple left that are still made from raw milk. Are they the ones that really, work for you, or is there something else?
So the heart and the soul of our company is a cheese called Winnemere, and it won Best of Show at the American Cheese Society year before last. And it's a washed rind seasonal cheese, and we manage our entire farm in order to produce this seasonal cheese, right? So year-round, we manage our milk supply in order to produce this one cheese seasonally. And it's an impossible cheese to produce. And in a way, it sums up our enterprise here. So it's basically soft cheese. It's a high-risk, washed-rind cheese made from raw milk. And we put together the pieces.
One more thing, it's also bound with a ring of spruce bark, which is another element,
Exactly.
Considering our discussion on wood.
Yeah, and those components have caused us to elevate the level at which we operate in order to succeed, right? So I'd say that, for me, it'd be...
So that's your vision,
Yeah.
and do you lose sleep over it?
Do I lose sleep over it? Not like I used to. But I think we've been able to put enough pieces in place to be able to manage the risk associated with that product. It's if you can operate at that level, a lot of things are possible, right? Which is open doors for us, and I'd say if I had to choose the one that I would be most proud of, I'd actually have to say Bailey, which when that cheese is delicious, it's the most delicious cheese I think we make, and we put probably more time and effort into understanding that cheese than any other cheese we've worked on, and
it is also the most complicated cheese from a technical perspective. With a blue cheese, there's so many things that can, go this way or that.
Well, when I look at both those cheeses, I'd have to say they're both benchmarks, just because of the raw milk, if nothing else. To me, they're fantastic cheeses, and the fact you're still persisting a decade on, despite all the hurdles that you've had to jump to get there, I think that's incredible. I also think that this facility, these cellars, are extraordinary too. And in terms of possibilities, I think that anyone in the cheese world that looks at what you've done, they're sort of gobsmacked by the fact that you actually did do it. And when you've got to understand, when you started digging this hole, everyone goes, no, they'll never finish it. Here you are, 60, 70% full, French affineurs coming over to look at what you're doing. You're still both sort of pursuing the dream. How much longer do you think you're going to do it for?
I think we're just getting started.
It really does feel that way.
It feels like we're just getting started, and that so many things are possible now.
We're working on a 35-year timeline, basically. I figure personally, I have another 25 years where I can be like good and active, and means that I'm a third of the way in, right? Which means plenty of time.
Yeah, not even halfway there. That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, good luck, guys. You've certainly, done a great job so far. Thank you.